You know that split second when you almost trip and your body just snaps back into balance, like before you even really think about it?
Yeah, or whipping your hand away from a hot pan.
Exactly.
Yeah,
There's this incredibly complex, super fast network inside you making all that happen.
absolutely. And that network, the nervous system, that's our focus today. We're diving into some really interesting source material here. Lecture notes from Mr. Hostler.
Ah, right. These are for first-year nursing students. Anatomy and physiology.
That's the one. They're based on Chapter 10 of The Human Body in Health and Illness, the 7th edition,
Mhm.
but really presented as, a supportive lecture guide.
Gotcha. So less textbook, more guided tour through the essentials.
Exactly. And the big question Mr. Hostler poses, the one we're tackling, it's fundamentally, what's the nervous system actually for?
Okay, so its purpose, how it's put together, how it runs the show, basically.
Pretty much. We'll unpack its main jobs, its structure, and how it coordinates everything.
All right, so where do we start? What are the core jobs according to these notes?
Well, Mr. Hostler breaks it down into three essential functions.
E.
Think of it like the system's main workflow.
3 key steps. Okay, I see them here. 1, sensory function. 2, integrative function. And 3, motor function.
Spot on.
It sounds almost like input, process, output. You sense something, figure it out, then react.
That's a great analogy, and it's actually right there in the notes, that input, process, output flow is key. So sensory function, that's the input part.
Detecting changes, right. Stuff happening around you or even inside you.
Exactly. Those changes are called stimuli. Could be
Right.
anything like the temperature changing, pressure on your skin.
Or even just knowing where your feet are without looking down.
Right. And these stimuli get picked up by special detectors called sensory receptors.
Okay, receptors detect something, then what?
Then they generate a signal. And this signal travels. Well, it travels towards the main control center, the brain and spinal cord.
And the messengers carrying that signal, those are the sensory neurons. Or afferent neurons, did I say that right? Ephemerate.
Perfect. Afferent. Think A for arriving at the central hub.
Nice mnemonic. Okay, so sensory info arrives via afferent neurons at the brain and spinal cord. What happens there?
That brings us to job number 2, the integrative function. This all happens in that central hub, the central nervous system, or CNS.
So the brain and spinal cord get the data dump. And they, what? Analyze it? Decide what it means?
Yeah, exactly. They receive it, they evaluate it, process it, interpret it. This is decision time. Could be a conscious thought or totally automatic.
Okay. Now, the notes have this little student question queue here. Wait, what does integration mean exactly? It sounds a bit abstract.
It's a really good question to flag because, yeah, it can sound vague. It's not just like flipping a switch.
So it's more than just passing the message along.
Oh, definitely. Integration means taking that incoming sensory information, maybe comparing it with other signals coming in, checking against memory, figuring out context, and then deciding on the appropriate response. It's synthesis.
Ah, okay. Like if you step on something sharp, it's not just sharp, it's integrating sharp. Pressure, where's my balance, am I going to fall? All that.
Precisely. You got it. That's integration in action, weighing all the factors before making the call.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've detected the stimulus, the CNS has integrated the information and made a decision. Now we need action, function 3.
Function 3, motor function. This is the output step. The decision's been made in the CNS.
And now a command goes out.
Right. A signal travels away from the CNS, heading out to the body's muscles or glands.
And these are the motor neurons carrying the orders. The
Yeah.
efferent ones, F-R-rent.
You nailed it. Efferent. Think E for exiting the CNS.
Okay, E for exit, got it. So these efferent signals go out and cause something to happen.
Exactly. They cause an action or a response. Could be moving a muscle, like yanking your hand back.
Or something less obvious.
Sure, like telling a gland to release a hormone or making a blood vessel get wider or narrower. Lots of possible responses.
So that loop really holds up. Detect a change, process it, respond. Simple on the surface, but incredibly complex underneath.
It underlies basically everything the nervous system does, which leads nicely into the next bit in the notes. How is this whole system actually organized structurally?
Ah, the blueprints. Okay, how's it laid out?
2 major divisions. First, the central nervous system, the CNS, that's the brain and the spinal cord.
Command center.
Right. And second, the peripheral nervous system, the PNS. That's, well, pretty much everything else, all the nerves branching off the brain and spinal cord, reaching every part of your body.
So CNS is central control, PNS is the network reaching out.
You got it. The CNS receives info, processes it, makes decisions. The PNS is the communication highway carrying messages to the CNS and commands from the CNS.
Like, CNS is the headquarters, PNS is all the phone lines and delivery routes.
Great analogy. It fits perfectly. The notes make it clear brain and spinal cord are central. Everything branching off is peripheral. Simple as that.
Okay. And within the PNS, those communication lines, they run both ways, right? Input and output.
Exactly. You've got those same pathway types we discussed functionally, now seen structurally within the PNS, sensory or afferent pathways bringing information in,
A for arriving.
and motor or efferent pathways carrying commands out.
E for exiting.
Right. And the PNS itself is made of cranial nerves coming off the brain, spinal nerves off the spinal cord, and also these things called ganglia.
Ganglia, what are those? Like little junction boxes out in the network?
It's a decent way to think of them, yeah. They're clusters of neuron cell bodies outside the CNS. Important relay points.
Okay, so CNS is the processor, PNS is the network with two-way traffic, afferent in, efferent out, and includes nerves and ganglia.
That's the basic structure.
All right, let's tie it all together. How does this sensory integrative motor function stuff, using the CNS and PNS structures, actually work in a real-life example? Like that hot stove again.
Perfect example. And the notes use it too. It shows how quickly everything connects.
Okay.
So, step 1. You touch the hot stove.
Ouch, okay.
Specialized sensory receptors in your skin thermoreceptors detect that intense heat. That's the stimulus. Sensory function starts right there in the PNS.
Got it. PNS receptors detect heat. Step 2.
Those sensory neurons, the afferent ones, fire off a signal. It zips along the sensory pathway through the PNS nerves, straight to your spinal cord, and usually up towards the brain too.
So the PNS is like sending an urgent message to headquarters.
Precisely. Step 3, integration in the CNS, the spinal cord, and quickly the brain get that Ch10 signal. They process it instantly.
Figuring out danger, pull away.
Exactly. Integrating may be other factors too, but the primary decision is withdraw. That happens in the CNS.
Decision made in the CNS. Now, step 4, the response.
Right. Motor neurons, the efferent ones, get the command from the CNS. They fire signals back out along the motor pathway.
Through the PNS again.
Yep, through the PNS directly to the muscles in your arm and hand.
So the PNS carries the order from headquarters to the troops, the muscles.
Perfect. And step 5, motor function. Those muscles get the signal and contract forcefully, pulling your hand away from the stove.
All happening in a fraction of a second.
So fast, it often feels like the action happens before you're even consciously aware of the pain. That's often a spinal reflex. The spinal cord makes the call even before the brain fully registers it.
Wow. Okay, so that simple reflex uses the whole setup. PNS senses and reports, CNS integrates and decides, PNS carries the command, muscles act.
It really shows that division of labor. CNS does the thinking, the deciding. PNS handles the communication, the reporting in, and the executing out.
A continuous loop, a constant partnership.
Absolutely essential. And understanding this loop, like Mr. Hostler emphasizes, is the bedrock for understanding pretty much everything else the nervous system does.
Okay, so let's quickly recap the main takeaways from Mr. Hostler's notes for today.
All right, we covered the 3 core functions. Sensory detecting stimuli.
Integrative processing information and making decisions.
And motor carrying out the response or action.
Then the 2 main structural parts. The central nervous system, CNS brain, and spinal cord, the control center.
And the peripheral nervous system, PNS, all the nerves connecting the CNS to the rest of the body, the communication network.
And we saw how information flows in via sensory or afferent pathways.
And commands flow out via motor or efferent pathways, A for arriving, E for exiting.
And the big idea is that basically all bodily responses follow the sensory integrative motor pathway, using both CNS and PNS.
Couldn't have said it better. Ready for a quick challenge question based on the notes?
Let's hear it.
Okay. Someone steps on a sharp Lego brick, ouch, and instantly jerks their foot back. Which division, CNS or PNS, processed the sharp pain info and decided on the withdrawal?
Processing and deciding. That sounds like the headquarters job.
And which division, CNS or PNS, actually carried the signals, both the pain signal from the foot and the pullback command to the leg muscles?
Carrying the messages. That's the network's job.
Okay, so, final answer. The notes confirm. The CNS did the processing and deciding. The PNS carried both the incoming sensory signal and the outgoing motor command.
Makes total sense. Getting this basic structure and function down feels like getting the keys to understanding how our bodies work.
It really is foundational. It's the architecture.
And where does the material suggest we go next?
Well, the notes hint at zooming in. We've seen the big picture, the system. Next time, it looks like we focus on the individual worker bees the neurons themselves.
Ah, the actual nerve cells. What makes them so special so fast?
Exactly. How do they transmit those signals with such incredible speed and precision? That seems to be the next piece of the puzzle.
Definitely something to look forward to. So for you listening, maybe think about this until next time. How many little things you do today, reacting to a noise, catching a falling object, even just adjusting your posture, can you trace back to that fundamental sensory integrative motor loop we talked about?
It's running constantly, behind the scenes, orchestrating pretty much everything.